Community organizations across the state are working to end mass incarceration. And one group in particular is doing important work to empower and support currently and formerly incarcerated people with re-entry services and opportunities to advocate for policy change. And joining me now is Sam Lewis, Executive Director of the Anti-Recidivism Coalition, known as ARC. Thanks for spending some time with us today on In Focus SoCal, Sam.
Thank you for having me, Tanya.
Many people think of anti-recidivism work starting when a prisoner is released from jail. But you stress the importance of working with an individual while they are still incarcerated. Why is it critical to reach them then? And how does ARC's Hope and Redemption program, which you created in 2017, help these individuals?
Great question, and thank you. Absolutely, we believe in beginning while incarcerated. As a matter of fact, we believe the first day of your reentry starts the first day that you're incarcerated. And the reason why we believe that is because you have to begin to work on changing both your thinking and what your plans are for your release. And you have to do that while you're incarcerated. You don't wait until you're released to actually begin to make plans and to begin to work on yourself. You should do that while you're incarcerated. And we say this from the prism of many of us that have lived experience, including myself. And so the Hope and Redemption team is about 30 former life prisoners that go back inside California prisons, and they run rehabilitative programming that demonstrates, one, that a second chance is possible, success is possible, if you do the work while you're on the inside.
And Sam, you found yourself in prison at the age of 18 and ended up serving 24 years of a life sentence, and you have never gone back. What was the turning point in your life?
The turning point in my life when I went to prison, I was about 7 years into my sentence, and my daughter, who had been born a month after my arrest, came to visit me, and I was headed to what's called administrative segregation, or the security housing unit. My daughter had never seen me in chains and shackles, and she had to come visit me behind this thick plexiglass where I couldn't hug her. And she simply asked me in that moment, "Why are you back there, and could you not get in trouble so I could hug you?" And that made me want to pick a different pathway. I didn't know how. I was still very young at the time, and I didn't know how I would do this, but I told her I would try not to get in trouble ever again. And it planted a seed in me that made me want to pick a different pathway.
And after that visit with her, I mean, you didn't have any idea that you were going to be in prison for another, 18 years. You thought you were going to be in prison for life, right?
Absolutely. I thought when I had arrived in prison that was the end of the road.
And Sam, unlike other states with large prison populations, such as New York, Texas, Pennsylvania, and Illinois, California releases inmates without requiring them to have places to live. Some people say this is one of the factors that contributes to recidivism, as well as why many former inmates end up living on the streets. What do you think needs to be done about that policy?
I think that policy, so California actually has, for life prisoners, has a requirement that you find transitional housing upon your release. And I think that requirement is a requirement that should be across the board. And the reason why is it allows you, when you're released, to set your foundation, so to speak. If you're in transitional housing, you don't have any overhead costs such as rent or a mortgage. And that allows you to save once you're employed.
But prisoners who, I just want to qualify, but prisoners who are only in prison for 5 or 10 years don't have to have a fixed address when released, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
They don't have.
Okay.
But I think it would be a really smart move to require that for everyone to have a fixed address. And if they don't have that, then provide transitional housing in order to allow them to set their foundation, save so that they have first and last month's rent so that they can be self-sufficient.
In May, you visited all 33 of California's state prisons to lay the groundwork for rehabilitative programs. What was that experience like?
It was eye-opening. I'm aware of how many prisons we have and where they're located at when you look at them on a map of California. But to travel close to 3,000 miles to be able to go to each one of these prisons is really eye-opening when you think of families having to make these trips. And not only that, program providers like ARC being able to provide resources and rehabilitative programming to make these trips to these different institutions consistently to provide the resources necessary for rehabilitation. What it tells me is, one, that I know as a state we can do better, and I know that we need to do better in order for us to be able to enhance public safety and also to decrease the amount of money, taxpayer dollars that are spent for so many prisons.
Sam, thank you so much for spending some time with me today and for all of your insight.
Thank you so much for having us, and thank you for highlighting our program.